Hello, everyone. This is Thomas Pepin NHL Talk. I'm Thomas Pepin, and let's talk about the NHL. So, today we're going to have a look um, at the best value players in the NHL from the 2021-22 season. And essentially, what we're going to do is take the salaries, divide it by the number of goals they have, and divide that by the number of games they've played. So, essentially, you're getting a goals per game value compared to their salaries. So I will pull things up now. And as always, unscripted, don't know the results until we do the calculations now. And so we will see. So just bear with me as I gather the data. No, 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 no. So I think I have it. Now just give me one more sec. Actually, we'll get rid of that. Why? Position, no. I think that's good. And then we'll only take a look at players with 10 or more goals. So in total, from last year, that gives us 313 players. And then now it's a question of bringing the data over to a spreadsheet. So now just bear with me here as I do that. So this, of course, is sourced from Cat Friendly. Now, what I wish they had was the NHL's website that it would allow for us to take a look at this stuff because they have things more comprehensive than cat friendly, which would be nice. Um, and yeah, it's way better organized, and I mean, like you can uh, export things into a spreadsheet, whereas in this case, I'm literally manually copying all the data, which is a bit tedious, but and especially on the spot to do that. But it's only 7 pages worth of data. I'm nearly done already. So, uh, yeah, and I mean, so ideally, I'd want things to be even more specific. So not just games, but maybe on a per minute basis. Uh, that would be nice because then you get a more specific idea of value. Because somebody might play more minutes, and then their goals per minute is actually not that good, even though their total goals is, and so on. So, um, yeah. So this isn't perfectly scientific, but it gives us a good enough idea for discussion's sake. All right, last. Um, okay, now just to make sure that all the data came over cleanly. Good. All right. So next up is to do the calculation. So we take the cap hit cap hit divided by goals divided by games. Then expand for everyone. And now organize by value. Perfect. Okay, so we have the results. I'm just going to save this because I will use it again sometime in another stream. So I'm going to be in another stream talking about making rosters and things like that. So probably something I'll reference, to help choose players and things like that. So player valuations. Good. Okay. All right. So according to the calculation on a goals, so on a cost per goals per game basis, the best value player last season was Jason Robertson. Now, is there a way I can get to his easiest? Maybe not. Bear with me a moment. Let's do it this way. Okay, so he scored 41 goals. Is this right? There he is. Okay. Now, so it's a bit misleading. So he ranks number one, and the reason is because he was on his entry level contract last year. So he was making $795,000 that year and had 41 goals. So as a result, of course, your value per goal scored is going to be substantially higher. So that's a bit misleading. Um, so we'll essentially start looking at people that are not on entry level contracts. So one guy, first guy that comes up, Tage Thompson. Um, his contract last year was 1.4 million. He had 38 goals in 78 games. So contrast that with another person that had 38. Nobody else had 38, but let's just contrast with the next closest. So we have Barkov, had 39, and he was making 5.9 million. Or there's Brock Nelson, 37 goals at 6 million. Rope Hintz, 37 goals, 3.15 million. Sebastian Aho, 8.46 million. 37 goals. Troy Terry, 37 goals, 1.45. So, um, yeah, Tage Thompson and Troy Terry are similar value, but um, compared to the others, clearly way better value. And Troy Terry was, yeah, his first contract after his entry level, where he just skyrocketed in the, I think it was in the, no, it wasn't in his, it was in the second year of his 3-year extension. So in a couple cases, some crazy good value. And was Troy Terry? He was a 5th-round pick, so it kind of makes sense how you could have signed him. Had a poor or relatively unremarkable track record prior to his leap to 37 goals, so got good value there. And then going back to Tage Thompson, he, same story, was a first-round pick, so that's where it's slightly different maybe. They were lucky to have gotten him at only 1.4, but nonetheless, a steal of value there. You know what? Maybe I should add in. Nah, we'll leave it. All right, so that's the first person to note. And then, funny enough, I already mentioned Troy Terry. He's the next one. Next one after that is, I just have to make sure that some of these are not entry level. Yeah, I'm going to have to go back and run another thing here. So bear with me a sec, because it is, I should have the, it filtered with the contract. I won't be able to do contract type, but I can do it another way here. So just bear with me another few seconds. I wish I could, can I filter by? No, I can't, because I was going to see if I could filter out entry-level contracts, but it doesn't look like it can, so that's too bad. But no problem. This won't take too long. Oops. I don't get why NHL.com doesn't have this data. Doesn't make sense. And I mean, because they create an opportunity for all these competitors that can provide other information. And it's just like, you already have most of the traffic for NHL content, or you have a big chunk of it, and then you have an opportunity to have more of it, and you just don't. So it just doesn't make sense to me. But um, a lot of things people do don't make any sense. And this, of course, I mean, uh, with a background in management consulting, it's like it's a no-brainer to add this kind of stuff to NHL's website. But and I bet they've been told this stuff before and they still haven't done it. Sometimes large organizations are very slow. Um, Now, I guess maybe the other thing is in theory, maybe there's some sort of conflict where it's technically a private contract or something like that, and so they can't publish it, especially because they're directly involved in it or something like that. Maybe is the justification, but I just don't see that being the case. But um, anyways, all right. So now I can recalculate and filter this better. So just a second. Again, that divided by that divided by that. Expand. All right. So now, although I can't um, filter by contract, I can look at the age now, which will give me an idea of if they're on an entry level or not. So, for example, Tanner Janot, he had 24 goals. Tanner Janot, which is probably, yeah, he's not on his entry level. Only 800,000 was his contract. 24 goals in 81 games. So huge value there at such a low dollar figure. So another guy where you're getting great value. Let's look here. Troy Terry, Michael Bunting. He had 23 goals. Where is he? There he is. So he must be on. He's on his third contract. So he went from 10 goals in 21 games to 23 in 79. And he was only at 950,000. So huge value there too. Let's see who else. Yakov Trenin, 17 goals. Where is he here? Yakov Trenin. So Yakov Trenin is on his third contract, 1.7 million, had 17 goals in 80 games. It's funny when you see, like, for me, I always find it funny when you see a stat like 17 goals and 7 assists. So like a guy's almost all goals and not as many assists. So it's just kind of funny. Yeah, another example in the playoffs, 3 goals, no assists in 4 games. Weird stats. So another guy, good value. Carter Verhaeghe, which is 24 goals. Carter Verhaeghe, where are you? There you are. All right, Carter Verhaeghe was on his last year of a $1 million contract, his fourth contract. 24 goals in 78 games, so huge value there at only $1 million. So those are just, I guess we'll chop there for, I guess, the demonstration of some good value. So those guys are right up towards the top. So for example, Janot was third, Thompson fourth, best value. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Troy Terry was 7, Michael Bunting 8. Trennan was 11, Verhaeghe 12. And so that's where we'll stop, just from the top at least, going over some examples. Now let's just have a look at some other people that are maybe a bit older. So Travis Boyd, 17 goals. His contract only 750,000. Like, that's outstanding value. Ryan Hartman, 34 goals, 1.7 million. Zach Parise, 15 goals, 750,000. Who's another guy? Corey Perry, 19 goals, only $1 million contract. So there's, I mean, plenty of examples of older players that you could bring onto your roster and get crazy good value. Now, for some of those guys, like what Corey Perry's, how old now? Give me a second here. Corey Perry is 37. So, I mean, that's not that old. Once you get to like 40, it's where. So, what I was going to say is, as they get older, there's risk that they're just not going to perform. They're going to be too slow. Like, so for example, Corey Perry's been, there's been comments about him being slow, but I mean, for one, I think he actually did fix that. If I'm not mistaken, I heard that in discussions on some broadcast or something. In any case, he's still producing too. So, and I think a chunk of his production's on the power play. Let's see if it tells me that stat here. No. Let's get to it on NHL. So he last year had, no, it's only 8 of his 40 points were on the power play. So it's not all power play for him, I guess. But yeah, so anyways, going back to what I was saying is you can get some really good value on veteran players. Probably really good for your locker room. There's a lot of layers to why you'd want to get those guys. So inexpensive, good personalities, can help drive a team, things like that. Good experience, so young guys can talk to them maybe. Um, that's where I mean, I don't know why. So I know that maybe some of these guys are difficult to sign because there's not hundreds of them. Uh, like to get another guy that produces like Corey Perry, I mean, you're not going to have as many options, but um, there's plenty of them. There's enough out there, and it just doesn't make sense why not more of them get signed. And so, like, where I've seen people that retire, and you, it's it seems like they've got more time in them. It could be that they want more money than they're being offered. There's a lot of different things, I guess, that could be at play, but it just doesn't make sense to me sometimes why they don't take these older guys. I guess you sometimes you need the young guys in so that they can get their experience, they can develop. But if you want to win, as far as I'm concerned, what I would do is, you know, let them develop in the AHL or something like that, or if they're even younger in the CHL or college. Um, and then just wait till they're actually ready to make the leap before you try to jam them in there. Because winning's the priority. It's not long-term winning, I guess, is the priority. But so you do have to factor in development, but still, nonetheless, it's like it just doesn't make sense to me. If you're trying to win a cup or get close to it, why you wouldn't have more of those players in there? So, um, I'll just skim through and see if there's any other guys to note here. Yeah, so Sam Gagne picked up by the Jets for this year. He had actually give me a second. I want to make this uh, easier to look at. There we go. He had 13 goals in 81 games, 850,000. Like, why wouldn't people have him? Goals are hard to come by. Well, I mean, there's more scoring in the NHL, I think, now than ever. But still, it's like, um, yeah, why don't you have guys that can score? Because I mean, it's not easy to get goals um, when everything's so close. So, who else do we have here? Spezza even 12 goals, $750,000, 71 games. Patrick Maroon, not surprising to me that he would be on the list. 11 goals in 81 games, 900,000. So good value there. Brian Boyle, 11 goals in 66 games, 750,000. It's like, yeah. So I know when you try to, excuse me, put together a roster, you need to have guys fill certain roles. So you need people to be able to play penalty kill, power play. Um, you need combinations of things, but I feel like now I don't know this with certainty because I'm not a GM, but I feel like GMs sometimes go by name or like as in they choose a player for their name, not necessarily just their performance, or too focused on having roles. So, for example, uh, maybe you could have a guy play decent enough on the penalty kill, um, where so let's say you have a guy like McDavid, and let's say he doesn't currently play on the penalty kill. could you not train him to play the penalty kill, and then rather than fill a roster spot with a guy that plays on the penalty kill, fill that roster spot with a guy that can score? I just I know, yeah, okay, 5 on 5, you need to have good matchups where, um, you can you can score more goals than the other team does, like the combination of scoring versus prevention. So, yeah, you need to have guys that can defend too. But as long as you're outscoring your competition, it doesn't make sense to me. Um, and I there's they have to not be looking at things, uh, it seems, in that way. So it's confusing to me. Um, so anyways, that's some of the guys on low contracts that are at good value. Uh, we'll skim through and see some guys that make more money. So, um, we'll take a look first at like some $3 million players. So Rope Hintz, 37 goals in 80 games, 3.15 million. So that's still good value. He's 60th. Um, oh, and I should say, so I think I said at the beginning, but 312 players we're looking at. So those are all the people that have scored 10 goals or more last year. And then another guy, Anthony Duclair, 31 goals in 74 games, $3 million. So really good value there too. So just a couple more examples, and then now let's look at some guys making over 5 million. So Chris Kreider, he had a standout year, 52 goals in 81 games, making 6.5 million. And he ranks 94th in value here. So, yeah, so I mean, still very good value, but when you rank him against the rest, now, again, you want more total goals in the end. So sometimes you'd be willing to pay more to get those goals. Because, for example, well, for one, you have to meet the cap floor, but um, second, you can't just have a whole bunch of people that score 10 goals because you need to have some star players to get the whole cumulative goals to be a good team. So, um, yeah, anyways, so where's another one here? So next one above 5 million is Kevin Fiala, 5.1 million, 33 goals in 82 games. So another guy, maybe you wouldn't have thought of, that has really good value there. Alex DeBrincat, 6.4 million, 41 goals in 82 games. And you notice how we haven't even touched on some of the star players. So here's where the first one that I'd say is a star player. So Kyle Connor, 47 goals in 79 games, 7.143 million. So it's not until you get to 117th out of, what did I say, 313? No, 312 players. It's not until you get to 117th where you see your first, what you could call a star player. Draisaitl's the next one behind him, so 8.5 million, 55 goals in 80 games. So, yeah. So anyways, so those are some of the star players there. Um, I think finally to what we'll do is take a look at the some of the biggest name players out there. So let me reorganize this by. Oh wait, no, actually that's going to be harder. Because give me a sec here. So that's done by goals. Yeah, I guess I'll have to scan through, so just give me a sec. So we saw Draisaitl. Kaprizov from Minnesota, he's 147th. Matt Duchene, 148th. Ovechkin, 154th. Stamkos, 155th. So that's where you're getting some of the star players that actually, on a goals per, on a value basis, it's worth it. So when you're getting, 50 goals from Ovechkin, that's a big deal. So, it's consistent. Whereas like a Kreider, what was his best year? So his next best year after 52 goals last year was 28. So he practically doubled his goals. And the problem is you can't expect that every year. So that's where, yeah, of course you're going to get better value when you have somebody that isn't expected to get those kind of goals. So it's a bit different there, but in any case, who else do we have here? Austin Matthews. So he's 166th in value. Sebastian Aho, he's 179th. Connor McDavid all the way down at 210th. Again, on a value per goals per game basis, which, like I said, this isn't a perfect science or anything. Who else do we have? Mikko Rantanen, 205th. And let's go down to the bottom. So the worst value is Erik Karlsson, 10 goals in 50 games at 11.5 million. See, this is where I've said previously in other streams, defensemen are way overvalued. So on that note, what we'll do to end this here is have a look by position, exclusively taking a look at defensemen. So just 1 second here to do that. So that, and then we want that. What? Why is it doing? Oh, that's annoying. They have him as lefty, righty. All right, what I'll do then is I'll cut them out and do a separate list. So just bear with me here. I don't know if you can hear the train going by. Choo choo. Um, Give me a sec here. I'm almost done. All right. So I think that's good. And then rank order. Uh, all right. So for defensemen, the best value is Noah Dobson. He had 13 goals in 80 games. I think he was on his entry level. So first one that's not on their entry level, which obviously makes sense as if you follow the game. D'Angelo, he had 10 goals in 64 games, was only making $1 million. So really good value there, obviously. Who else do we have here? Gustav Forsling. He had 10 goals in 71 games. 2.667 million was his contract. Shane Gostisbehere is next after that. Of defensemen, Cale Makar is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in value for goals. Who else is? Actually, you know what? Let's do this to make it easier. All right, so yeah, so like I said, so Carlson was the bottom of everybody. He's also obviously the bottom of defensemen. Some other guys that are maybe expected to have been better than they were. So Brent Burns is 30th of 32 defensemen uh, in value. And again, of course, they have to meet the threshold of 10 goals or more. So of everybody, they're going to be higher. But of the ones who scored 10 or more goals, that's where he sits. Letang is 29th. Trouba, 28th of 32. Pietrangelo, 27th of 32. So, I mean, you've got some really good names that are, you're really, in theory, at least from a goals per game basis, not getting the best value. So, now to contrast, so you've got a guy like Roman Yossi. He's 15th, 23 goals and making 9.059 million. So, and Victor Hedman, 20 goals in 82 games, 7.875 million. So, yeah, so there's clearly some it's interesting to consider the value of goals, even for defensemen, and when you contrast them with, like, everybody, well, let's do that. So let me go back to where they sit in the whole thing. Cale Makar is 242nd. Hedman is 257th. Who else did we have there? Um, what did I? Give me a sec. Let's go back. I already said about Yossi. No, I guess it's not really all that important. So, because you already know that they're going to be much lower. So, just for example, Brent Burns, he's 304th of 312 players. Um, so clearly on a uh, goal, so value per goals, a value uh, on value per goals per game. Uh, there's some real poor value out there where people are getting way overpaid, and then the opposite where players are really inexpensive. And so you'd think some of the, like I said previously, some of these teams would fill out their roster with guys that can score like 15 goals. It's not that easy to come by, and you could get it for like $1 million. So I just don't know why more GMs don't do it. So I think that covers everything I wanted to talk about. As always, if you like the stream, hit the like button, share with your friends, uh, subscribe, and turn on notifications. This way, you can be advised of streams. I think what I'm doing, so what I started to do is just schedule the days that I plan to do things in advance. It's supposed to do this most days. I'm going to either take a day off tomorrow or the next day. I don't know which yet. But I guess if you subscribe and get notifications, or you just keep having a look at my homepage for my channel, then you can see when I'm streaming next. So, um, yeah, and then last, of course, if you have any suggestions of topics, leave them in the comments. Any feedback that you have, of course, let me know as well, because of course I want to meet your needs and your interests and things like that. So yeah, definitely don't be shy to leave a comment as well. So thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you maybe not tomorrow. Uh, it's either I'm taking tomorrow off or the next day, like I said, but I'll keep you posted with adjusting the schedule on my channel there. So anyways, thanks for tuning in.